This is Matthew Green. You're very proud. NDP candidate right here, Parliament to the People. We're right here in Hamilton Center, but obviously this is being broadcast across multiple platforms: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. We're we're having discussions with people live and direct. We are live and direct with people. You get a chance to ask whatever questions on your mind. You can feel free to join us in the discussion, letting people know who you are, where you're from, and what you're all about. I'm putting the link in the comment section for those that want to join the discussion and actually join me live on this stream. You can do that by clicking on the link, and then a notification will pop up. We'll bring you on. You can let people know who you are, where you're from, and what you're all about. And we can have a discussion. I believe in deliberative democracy. I believe that we should meet people where they're at. Obviously, I wouldn't be knocking on your door at 8:30, but I do know some of you are at home scrolling. Maybe you're doom scrolling. Maybe you're looking at, reels of cats. Who knows? But here's your chance. If you want to get involved in the discussion, you can do that right here this morning on Parliament to the People. We like to keep it live and direct, live and direct. So now is your chance. Shout out to people who are tuning in. I can see that on Instagram, and I can see folks are starting to rise and shine on the other platforms, on either YouTube or Facebook. This is a great way for me to start the day, have a discussion, get a sense for how people are feeling. The best polls, by the way, forget about what you read in the newspaper, see online. For me, the best polls is when I start knocking on doors. We've been doing that for the last month, and it has been great feedback. Obviously, there's uncertainty. People are very confused in the moment. They're afraid with what's going to happen this week, potentially with the Trump tariffs. I get it. I get it. But if you're also watching the general trends, I think the threat of Pierre Poilievre is behind us. And now we can go back to restoring a balance of power within Parliament that doesn't allow any party to have a supermajority. Our Westminster system works best when there is opposition that can have oversight and accountability within government. That's how it works. That's what we're shooting for. And good morning to those that are tuning on. Good morning, Tina. Shout out to the people on Instagram. If you are just tuning in and you have a question, a comment, you just want to let people know where you are, you can put a thumbs up. You can put a comment in the comment section. I'm trying to monitor it as best as I can across all platforms, although not all of them make it into my comment thread. So I'm doing the best I can to make sure that all those questions are answered. But Parliament to the People, I do this once or twice a day. Just an opportunity to connect with people live and direct in the morning. And I typically come back on later at night. Obviously, wouldn't be phone calling people at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Wouldn't be knocking on their doors, but I can digitally door knock. This is a new era. So this is a new way for me to campaign, get people on and across these platforms. And it's been very good. It's been very good. Shout out to Grey Wolf 101 who says, how do we get a lawn sign? Let me tell you about the lawn signs. We have hundreds and hundreds of lawn signs that have been put out in a very short period of time. Shout out to Colin and our lawns sign crew. People come in, they pick them up. Long story short, if you want to get yourself a lawn sign, all you have to do is visit matthewgreen.ca, and then you just go ahead to the request a lawn sign, and we will have our team. Shout out to you, Sean, USW Local 7135. Sean is one of the lawn sign people. He's right now logged in on Facebook. So this is kind of like a digital matchmaker. We got Sean who's putting up signs. We have Grey Wolf 181 who is requesting a sign. So once that request goes in, we'll receive it. Amazing volunteers like Sean come in, pick up the lawn signs, go out into the community and put them up. It's an operation on its own. Like we're going to have, 1,500 to 2,000 lawn signs out by the time this is done to let people show their support in this moment of uncertainty where people from outside of our community are telling us who to vote for before the election even begins, who to vote for, in a presupposition of like what the outcome already is. Our elections are important. it's an important time. It's an important time to be engaged. Quite literally, voting is the least amount someone can do. Um, and I get it. Grey Wolf says, quite candidly, I'm getting ready for work, so not fully paying attention. That's okay, Grey Wolf. We will follow up. Someone Action Jackson, shout out to you. We did get the football game in this weekend. The statement says you can keep peppering them on vacant land like the cons. Oh wait, and there's a very particular location they choose. It's all the used car lots across the city, but a little bit on the nose. Whatever, it is what it is. Vacant lots don't vote. Uh, Car dealerships don't vote. People vote. I love nothing more than to see our lawn signs on residential lawns with everyday Canadians who are just expressing their values. That's what's important about elections. That's what's important about our Westminster system. Multiple parties that allow for really good, thoughtful opposition and proposition. I'm oppositional and propositional, right? And so this is a time to reflect our values. If you care about dental care and pharmacare, if you care about the housing crisis, if you care about making sure that workers are centered in any discussions around the economy as it relates to Trump tariffs, the potential for bankruptcies, increased inflation, you need to have a Labor Party present. If we hand it over to the progressive conservatives running under the Liberal Party or the far right conservatives running under Pierre Poilievre, the choice and the scope of life and experience is going to be greatly diminished. That I can guarantee you. And the other thing that I think that people don't fully appreciate, perhaps in the Westminster system, at least some of the discourse that I see online, is that as an important a prime minister is, if you want local services, connectivity to government, you have to elect competent MPs. And the challenge with waves, if there's a big wave that's coming in and there's a supermajority that's on the way, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But if there is, let's just play this thought experiment out. There's going to be a bunch of people elected who really have no connection to the community, have no experience in governance or oversight. They're going to be tasked to be on committees, write reports. They're going to be tasked to the function of parliament. When you elect a leader, if you think you're voting for Mark Carney, one, you're not. Two, your local candidates actually do matter. If there are local issues that require a voice in the House of Commons, but your local MP is incompetent or just non existent, that's a problem. So here we are. Philster says, shout out to you. It says, our Westminster system is a failing system as it's too easy to manipulate and stack power. I would say the Westminster parliamentary system isn't the failed system. First past the post is. First past the post delivers false majorities, supermajorities, and not the proportional representation of people. I think of the Westminster parliamentary system as being a bit of a rules and policy and procedure nerd. I think that it can hold government accountable. It can hold the balance of power. It can be accountable. It can be propositional. It can be cooperative. It can be all those things. But too much power has been concentrated in the leaderships. That's the problem with the way in which we allow the Westminster system to be manipulated. So I do agree with that. If you are logging online right now, shout out to you. Parliament to the people. Consider this your digital door knock. I'm going to be on for about an hour. Then we're going to get into the day. We're going to be knocking doors, going door to door, street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood. That's what we do. That's the process. It's super grassroots and it is simple. But do not mistake simplicity with ease, because it is not an easy process to get people engaged into discussion so much that they want to volunteer. So we are calling on folks to join our growing army of volunteers here in Hamilton Center, having the discussion, talking to people. People are rightly worried and concerned. Some of it is well-founded. Some of it might be a little bit misplaced. And it's our job to go out and to explain ourselves, let people know where things are, let people know where we stand on critical issues. That's the discussion. That's the way a true deliberative democracy is supposed to work. Our system, our country, our culture, what makes us different than the United States of America is that we're not a duopoly of corporate interests. We're not the Democrats and Republican parties conservative and far right conservative, in the same way that like reducing this election to two parties is deeply dangerous, not just for this moment, but for the functioning of our Westminster system. And I know that that's not necessarily what's front and center on people's mind. There's a reaction, it's an instinct. We're under attack, we're under threat. But I have to remind people that the United States of America fell into fascism because it had a two-party system that stopped addressing the income inequality and the material conditions for everyday people. Let me take these off and get going here. That is exactly what liberals are trying to push, a two-party scenario that ultimately are going to favor the corporate class. And within months, if not years, the idea of addressing income inequality will be completely obliterated from the political discourse. And what will be left is a party, two parties, serving the same corporate interest. So let's talk about that. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the question comment section. I will answer them. If you want to join us, shout out to the people who are on TikTok. Hi, Julie. Yes. A vote for the NDP also helps the entire organization, even if the local is not elected. Yeah, you know what? Like, you don't have to be afraid. And I think there's two very powerful motivators in politics and in life: fear and hope. And we've watched these cycles play through. The conservatives really drew on fear. Right wing populism demands that people are afraid. It demands that people are afraid of their neighbor, the newcomer, the person who has a different religion, the person who has a different identity, gender expression, sexuality, whatever. That's what right wing populism feeds off of. The challenge we have now is that there is a fear coming out of the liberalism, coming out of the Liberal Party, which is that if we don't give them a supermajority, if we don't have this sweeping wave come across and coronate in a coronation Mark Carney, that somehow, the interests of Donald Trump will take over and will become the 51st state. There's a lot of rhetoric. Much of it is unhinged. Absolutely, this is uncertain times. We haven't seen anything like this. But what I do know to be true about New Democrats, and I'm going to even pitch myself right now, I have been, and for those of you who are following along in Hamilton, an anti-fascist organizer in this city for decades. What does that mean? I've shown up. I've shown up at counter protests, rallies, supporting marginalized groups, supporting targeted groups. It could be a firebombing of Ibrahim Jami Mosque. It could be an attack on trans kids. I'm showing up to protect and defend the most marginalized people. Do you know who I don't see on those front lines against fascism? Ever? Liberals. Ever. They will not roll up their sleeves and get into the streets with people. They will not stand in solidarity on picket lines with workers who are having their jobs threatened and under attack. That's not who they are. So, what is your stance on MPs making social media posts that are blatant lies or corrupt? I need more feedback than that. Praise to, I don't even know what that is, but whoever that put that comment on TikTok, I need more context. Someone says, I love the NDP, but we can't have the Bernie write-ins. The rhetoric is not helpful. What do you mean? I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal. Bernie was part of the Democratic Party. I am not part of the Liberal Party. We have a multi-party system in Canada. This is not a duopoly. My friend, this is not a duopoly, and this is not rhetoric. This is facts. I have no obligation to concede this election to the Liberal Party. Period. When they panic like that, and when they start this kind of hysteria around how the NDP, it's not the time for us to campaign in elections, so on, it's actually a form of voter suppression, and it's a very undemocratic rhetoric to suppress ideas and thoughts in a pluralistic, multicultural, democratic system that we have in Canada. This is not a duopoly. I do not owe the Liberal Party concession at all, whatsoever. They deserve scrutiny. Mark Carney deserves scrutiny. Their policies and votes all deserve scrutiny. What's an example of that? All the things that we pushed for and won in the last election, they voted for in the previous one. Dental care, anti-scab legislation, pharmacare. In fact, they used the labor code to circumvent the House of Commons to legislate workers into forced mediation through ministerial interventions like 4 or 5 times within the last 8 months. The Liberals are no friend to working class people. You might not be comfortable with that, and that's fine. This isn't vote splitting because I'm not a part of their party. That's the challenge. And I think that like Liberals really are having a hard time understanding where their collapse came from and understanding why it is very valid and legitimate to be critiqued, to be a part of the electoral system in an election. It's pearl clutching. It's not vote splitting. And let's be frank. Let's just have a frank discussion about it. So there's people with lots of feelings on TikTok. That's okay. We are here anyways. We are here on Facebook. Shout out to the people that are here. If you're tuning in on Instagram and you have questions, feel free to add your comments to the comment section. If you are on and you want to chat about it, feel free to do that. Someone says, I'm putting my party over the country. Conceding an election and making a two-part, like, that's not how this works. This same person is really having a difficult time understanding why elections matter, why you don't just concede and coronate people. The concentration of power is undemocratic, period. We need democratic institutions to represent our interests in a democracy. To reduce those options is to reduce democracy itself. To attack people who are engaging in the process is also an attack on democracy itself. So, I mean, have whatever feelings you want about it. I'm okay with it. That's why I like Parliament to the People. I encourage and invite people to share their viewpoints. So that's where we're at. And I'm okay with it. Hello from Nunavut. Shout out to the North. I would love to have somebody from the North jump on and tell me what's going on up there, because I will not pretend to be an expert or know what's happening in the North. But what I do know is that incredible New Democrats like Lori Idlout are fierce representatives for their constituency in the House of Commons. And we've been having a big discussion here around the usefulness of a multi-party system in Canada, in a Westminster parliamentary system, having multiple parties. Here's a very clear example. When you are a government backbencher, so my experience, liberal backbenchers in liberal governments cannot, will not ever rise in the House of Commons and defend their constituents, defend the interests or the bad decisions of government against government. In other words, if you're a liberal, you are muzzled from critiquing bad liberal policy that would impact your community. So the North is a good example. I know, and you can just go to the Hansard. Don't take my word for it. I know for a fact if Lori Idlout was not elected to represent the North, you would never hear Northern issues in the House of Commons. Would not happen. Would not happen. And it's the same in Northern Quebec. We used to have Romeo, he was phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. We got more chats coming in. I'm trying to keep up. Parliament to the People. This is Matthew Green, your NDP candidate right here in Hamilton Center. And I am live streaming across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We are taking feedback from people and questions live and direct. Feel free to jump on if you want. There's a good comment here that says, let's not forget the farmers, especially the small farm producers. Amen to that. And shout out to our northern siblings. Yes. There's lots of opinions about corruption. I would love for people in the comment section to give me examples of what they feel to be corrupt, because words matter, definitions matter. Let's have the discussion. I'm willing to defend it. So I'm happy to have the conversation. If you're online and you feel like all the parties are corrupt, let's talk about it. What is my take on Paul Chang's post and the desire to have? That is horrific. Oh my gosh, that's wild. So much wild things have happened in Canada. I recall last year in September when it was determined that the Indian government, Modi's Indian government, assassinated a Canadian on Canadian soil. Terrifying. That should have taken the entirety of Parliament to come to grips with. And it seemed like it just kind of went by real quick. There wasn't a lot of action. We're obviously talking a lot about foreign interference, but when a sitting MP calls on Gestapo-like, super authoritarian, totalitarian bounty hunting of Canadian citizens in relation to a Chinese foreign government, any foreign government, it just happens to be China in this part. That is terrifying, actually. That is terrifying. There needs to be full accountability of that. And like, shame on him. I denounce that um, in every way, shape, or form possible. I think that's abhorrent. I think it's important. So shout out to you. Hey, Leela, come feel free to jump on. Matthew Green, Parliament to the People. We got, if you were, you'd end the corruption in Ontario. Reg, I'm not a provincial member of provincial parliament. I'm a member of federal parliament, and I actually happen to be on the ethics committee, and I do actually provide oversight to corruption cases in the House of Commons on our ethics committee. I would encourage anybody who's watching, when I say things, do not take my word for it. Like, really, there's lots of great resources. One of the excellent resources that I'm going to share with you right now is called openparliament.ca. You can go on there and you can search by MP. I'm putting it in all of them. You can search by MP and by topic, word. Let me see if I can get this on TikTok for the people that are having the questions there. Let me see. Bear with me for 1 second while I get this resource up. It's called Open Parliament. You can do that. Let's see if I can maybe bring this screen into here. This is me doing a multicast, multi-platform program here, and so I'm trying to stream across multiple platforms, which means sometimes it takes me a minute. So bear with me. We are going to get this one going. That tab, share. We don't need the audio. There it is. Let me try to do this and see if we can do it. Hopefully you all can see this. Oh, it looks like something janky's happening. Maybe that's not working. Let me see now. How is that? Hopefully you all can see that. So let's click on here. I'm going to go to this tab. You can take a look for yourself. So basically, you just go ahead and you enter in the postal code, name, phrase, whatever it is. It'll have it there for you, and you can see what's happening. So let me pull this down and see if I can give you a better example. I don't know if this is working or not, but let's take a look. You can see for yourself. I'm going to type in my own name so you can see. Matthew Green. Let's do that. There I am. Here are the words, right? Here are the words. These are different things. Access to information, testimony, misinformation, disinformation. Here's the votes. All the votes are there, different points of order. You can go to ethics, right? You can check this out. Right here is the last time we were talking about TikTok. We had some questions there, different votes, speeches, all the studies. It's all there for you. It is all there for you to see. And you can search what you're interested in. I am begging people to take a greater interest in what happens in the House of Commons because it matters. A lot happens outside of the PMO's office. Committees happen, debates happen, studies happen, investigations happen. There is a lot that goes into the House of Commons. Ian says, we have seen sustained attacks against journalists in the CBC. How do you think we can set up to defend journalism and public access to media? We need to invest in public access to media. We need to invest in core curriculum that includes civics from a very early age. Like, I would say one of the biggest revelations I've had is just how little a lot of Canadians know about how our government works, whether it's the levels of government, who does what, how our electoral system works, how our party system works. I have come to discover that in adults too, the folks just we're not taught that in a meaningful way. We need to be taught that. People need to have, civics. I would say from like fourth grade. Like, we really need to get into that. More questions, more people. Shout out to Red Rocket, Hamilton Center to say, oh, I appreciate that. Shout out to you. And if you're in Hamilton Center, we would love to have you as a part of our campaign team. Feel free to join up. You can see the ticker on the bottom where it says visit matthewgreen.ca. You can absolutely volunteer. We need lots of volunteers. We have hundreds of people who have engaged in like 2 weeks. Hundreds of people have engaged. Events, door knocking, phone calling. By the way, we have it set up in our campaign where you can phone bank from anywhere that you are, from your home, not just right here in Hamilton, but all across the province and the country. You can do that. We can get you set up. We can get you set up. This is going to take a mass ground game. If it's a toss up, I'm okay with it. We're going to go ahead. It's going to be what it's going to be. The people are always right, by the way. There is no sour grapes in my politics. I view democracy. I cherish democratic institutions. And in elections, the people are always right. I don't believe the polls are always right. I don't believe the aggregators that don't actually have sample sets in my community are right. I don't believe them when I knock on doors and there's a contradiction between what we're hearing from people on the doors and on the phones with what we're seeing reported. Because people in Hamilton Center have very different politics than people in Stony Creek, Dundas, Winona, Waterdown, rural areas, suburban areas. We're different. We're just different. And that should be the beauty of it. So we need deep, deep, deep investments. People are talking about mixed feelings about smart voting. I've shared those feelings. This is what I call predictive politics, predictive, presumptive politics, where they're making up their decisions on stuff based on incomplete information, presupposing the outcome of elections. To me, maybe it's the time I've spent around artificial intelligence, understanding social media, algorithms. I find that actually quite dangerous. If it's going to be the case that we should no longer plead our case to Canadians at elections, but we should just defer to an algorithm or a formula to decide for us what our best interests are, that is a creep towards a moment where we just stop really having fruitful elections. That is kind of a dystopian technocratic future. That's the kind of thing, in a lot of ways, that the tech bros are leaning on. And the challenge that we have online, particularly with influencers, is that the algorithms favor engagement and emotion and reward that. And so if people are terrified, if there's a hysteria around what's going to happen, then there's a problem. There's a problem because, people are going to go online and, like, engage with your neighbors, knock on people, quite literally touch grass, have discussions. I'm doing it right now. It's unfiltered and unfettered. Someone says that's incredibly disingenuous. No one is saying that. People are online saying this all the time. Alex, that's what I'm hearing. I'm engaging with thousands of people a week. And some people say that. Some people actually go to these things that don't have actual ground data. And I've had people from Smart, I've asked them, what data do you have locally? They can't pull up a poll. Nobody's polled Hamilton Center. So when you do regional polling with like with a methodology and a formula, some kind of political voodoo, some crystal ball, it doesn't capture what's actually happening. And in a way, it manufactures consent and does voter suppression as well. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of strange, but Mikey, I don't know how you'd feel if I knocked on your door at 9 o'clock in the morning, but here you are online. We're in a different world. I do this because this is effective and I can talk to people across various platforms all at once. I do it in the morning when you wouldn't want somebody knocking on your door. Could you imagine? So somebody on TikTok says, um, why don't you go knock on some doors instead of running your mouth on? First of all, you could reread your comment and understand why that's kind of funny. Running your mouth online. I'm in a campaign. This is like a digital town hall. I'm going to be talking to people, getting their feedback, engaging with people. This is like a digital door knock. But could you imagine if I rolled up to your house and you're like getting ready for work and I just came to knock on your door at 9 o'clock in the morning? How would you feel about that, Mikey? Would that be okay? No, because this is not Canvas time, Mikey. But I can digitally door knock and it's effective. How do I know? Because you're watching it right now. I'm not watching you. You're watching this. Somebody says they'd snap if I knocked on the door. Yes, you would. But as we know, in the morning, people wake up, they scroll, and here we are. You know, so this is effective. How do I know it's effective? Because you all are here. That's how I know it's effective. And I know that like I wouldn't be on your doors and I wouldn't be calling your home at this time. So if I can extend the hours in which I engage people from 9 in the morning to 9 at night by jumping online with Parliament to the People to hear from folks across the country and simultaneously engage with you, get direct feedback in ways that you would never give me on your doorstep, I'm going to take it. I think it's innovation. That's what we're doing. And the beautiful thing about this is if you're not down with it, if you don't like it and you don't appreciate the discussion, you can just keep strolling too. I don't take it personal. I've been at this long enough. I don't take any of this personally. So somebody's concerned. Yes, you should be concerned, Lindsay, and that's why you should go out and support New Democrats. You don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be, terrified into conceding into a two-party system. Vote your conscience. If you believe in New Democrats, if you believe in the working class values of our party, our labor roots, our commitment to social justice, on eliminating income inequality and providing dignity for everybody, vote for the NDP. You can do that. It's going to be okay. We know that this scenario is not the way it was presented even 10 days ago. And 10 days from now, it could be very different. So that's why I refuse this notion that people should just concede to a two-party system and that somehow during an election now is not the time. That's absurd. If you want to find a way to get involved with the work that we're doing, you can do that by joining our movement right here in Hamilton Center. Visit matthewgreen.ca/volunteer. If you want to, I'm going to put the Open Parliament link up again. Some people are asking about that. We can go to openparliament.ca. Oh, you know what? Let me just I can put it. Yeah, if I put it in the comment section, then you should be able just to click the link and check yourself. You could check what your incumbent MP has done. You can check out all of that stuff. So what do we got here? Openparliament.ca. I'm going to put it back in the comment section on Restream. Here we go. And you can see for yourself. The other one is Our Comments, is another interesting site. Maybe I'll bring that one up where you can see how that works. Ourcommons.ca. That's the official parliamentary site. For those that are interested, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just come see for yourself. So I'm going to scroll down there and then I'm going to try to share my screen. Bear with me for a moment. I am streaming across multiple platforms and I'm doing it myself. So here we go. Let's try this. So you can see it right there. This is openparliament.ca, the official parliamentary website. If you go on this site and you want to see what's happening, you can do that. This is the interesting section right here. Okay. This is called, again, ourcommons.ca. So you could see the members in office. Let's just look at this. You can actually check our work. Don't take my word for it. You can go ahead and check my work. So I'll give you an example right now. I'm going to take a random liberal who's in Hamilton. You can see what my friend Chad does. I've worked with Chad. I like Chad. This is not, this is just as a demonstration. So if you scroll down to work and you click on that, you will see that in the House of Commons, this MP has had 88 interventions, which means in the time they've been in Parliament in this session, they have engaged in debates representing Hamilton East, Stony Creek 88 times. 88. Remember that number. 88. Committee interventions, which is where a lot of our work happens, studies, investigations, 640 times. Okay? 88, 640. Let me put that on there. 88/640. This is how you can check performance metrics on what your MP is doing. And I'm going to hold myself accountable now. And I'm going to, we can go ahead and do this. Matthew Green, search. There I am, scrolling down. This is ourcommons.ca. Wherever you live, check your incumbents, see the work they've done. Here's the work. Remember, Chad had 88 interventions in the House of Commons, debating, representing the interests of people in Hamilton East, Stony Creek. I had 349. 349. Having opposition MPs representing the interests of the constituencies matter. It matters. It matters. Having a voice in the House of Commons for your community, it matters. Committee interventions, 3,871. People can have lots of opinions about my politics. You might not like what I have to say. You might not like my analysis on the economy, on society. All of that is fair. I'm just presenting to you the facts that when you have a liberal backbencher, this is the last minority government, 88 interventions versus 349. Who's working for you? That's the question. When you elect new Democrats, they go to work. That's how it works. I'm going to check some of the comments. Please do, if you get a chance, I'm going to put this, I want this resource to be available to everybody. And I want you to check for yourself. Go and see what the liberal backbenchers in your community, what they've been doing. Go and check it out. Someone says the polling says nobody's polled Hamilton Center. They've polled Hamilton. They've polled Hamilton. If somebody shows me a poll of Hamilton Center, fair enough. But you can't take the aggregators and this predictive notion that relies on past elections to predict future ones. If you have that mentality, then essentially we just concede all future elections. We go to algorithms, we plop it in, and we see what's up. That's not what we're doing here. When someone says, what are we doing to defend it? This is part of it. I'm digitally door knocking right now. We're going to be on the doors. We're going to be on the phones. We're going to be engaging with people wherever they are. I'm putting in the Our Commons link so that you all can see it. For those of you that are just tuning in, this is Matthew Green, Parliament to the People. And this is your digital door knock. I am online right now across 5 platforms, answering questions, engaging in deliberative democracy, regardless of what your party is, where you live. I'm taking questions. I'm happy to engage with people. Our commitment is to outwork everybody. I can't do this for people who haven't been MP yet because they haven't been an MP. Don't read the comments. I'm not concerned about the comments. This is the good thing about growing up politically in Hamilton. I have really thick skin. I don't take any of it personal. All the people who are on TikTok or wherever, TikTok is a little bit different because the algorithms typically are pushed out to people who I don't know, and that's fine. They likely don't know me either. Consider this an introduction. My name is Matthew Green. I've served in Hamilton Center for 10 years as an elected member of Parliament, and before that a city councillor, and before that an activist, and born and raised in Hamilton. I love this city. I'm from this city. I'm of this city. I can't say that about the other candidates. When go to bed at night and put my head down on my pillow, it's right here in Hamilton Center. When I wake up and put my feet on the ground, getting into bed is right here in Hamilton Center. We got a conservative from St. Catharines who has to drive 45 minutes in. We got a liberal who needs GPS just to get here from Mississauga. They're not from this community. They don't understand this community, and they're going to ride waves. That's fine. I'll swim against the current. I can do that. We've been doing that in Hamilton for some time. Being an underdog is not new. It's not new for me. It's not new for Hamilton. I'm committed to it. I'm committed to it. So that's what's up. I appreciate the discourse. You called our office, never an answer. Tracy, which office did you call? Feel free to DM me your number and I'll call you myself. If you contacted our constituency office or did you contact the campaign office? I don't know. I do not know. We are running a full-on campaign here. Mr. Lawrence is putting lawn signs up on used car lots. That's the difference. So that is what it is, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you, Tracy. Feel free to give me a call. We can chat. I can answer questions you might have. I'll answer them honestly. I don't tell people what I think they want to hear. I tell them how I feel. What you see is what you get. That is part of being Hamilton. What you see is what you get. We were east and now center. I'm in Rosedale. The number online. Thank you. If on TikTok, don't put it on the comment section, but if on TikTok you DM me your phone number, I will call you as soon as I'm off of this. Absolutely happy to do that. We have a whole team here, like a dozen people, like full-time, dozens and dozens of people out in the community. But it is important to have discussions. You should be calling around and talking to people, and we will be out in Rosedale in a lot of ways. Like I'm just over on the other side of Gage Park. We're virtually neighbors. I could likely walk to your house from where I'm at. That matters. I have local context, and I'm certainly happy to have the discussion. So please do send me that DM. So any other questions here? Parliament to the people. Shout out to the people who have logged on Instagram, TikTok. Facebook's quiet today. Facebook and YouTube are quiet today, but that's okay. It was a great chat. We are about 45 minutes in. So with that, now is where I shift to the second part of my day, which is answering emails, answering calls, making calls, getting ready for our canvas, getting ready to go meet people where they're at, door to door, street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood. If you are in the area and you want to get involved in this election, we're not just asking for your vote. We're not just asking for you to put up a lawn sign. We're asking you to be involved in democracy. We want you to be engaged in the kind of outreach that we do to go out and talk to people. So if you think that your values are working class values, if you want to see affordability, if you want to see a defense of workers and jobs in the face of Trump tariffs and not more corporate bailouts, the NDP is the party for you. I can't predict what's going to happen on April 28th. I can't. I won't try. But what I do know is that we're going to outwork everybody every day, every hour to earn votes, right? To get that mandate for re-election, to go back to Ottawa, to fight for the working class values of Hamilton Center. That's what I do know to be true. We're going to do that for the next 4 weeks. And, whatever comes on the 28th, the work starts on the 29th. It is what it is. The people are always right in democracy. I'm not concerned about it, and I'm not panicked about any of it. We're having a good time, too. Here's the thing. I'm going to close with this because there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, and it is almost impossible with the global climate to not feel the dread, the misery, the existential doom. It's worse when you're alone. It's worse when you're isolated. Joining community, building community, being around people who share your values, it reduces that pain and anxiety and misery and fear. Having solidarity with people around principles, it brings me joy. I want to invite you into the joy that we're having right here in our campaign in Hamilton Center. I appreciate everybody who has engaged today, those that support, those that don't support. It's all the same. We're going to work regardless. And here we are. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, solidarity forever, solidarity forever.